Chodesh Nisan till Yud Beis Nisan. Then when this one took place. The Medrash tells us, interestingly, that the Mishkan was completed on Chaf Hei Kislev. The 25th day of Kislev really should have been the Chanukah Mishkan, which later on there was reinstallment of the Mikdash through the Bnei Matisyo Kohen Gadol. That's why it's called Chanukah. Why is it called Chanukah? Because the Yevonim decontaminated the Beis HaMikdash. This is perhaps a point just for a second to speak about. The concept that Am Yisrael will be in Golus is hinted already. The Medrash says Am Yisrael was destined to go through 4 states of Golus from 4 different nations. And this concept is hinted in the second verse of the Torah. The Torah says, what's the second verse of the Torah? Maybe we'll begin with the first verse. Bereshis tells us that the world was created for Am Yisrael. Rashi brings down Bereshis Bishvil Reishis. Ein Reishis Eli Yisrael, and he brings a pasuk, Kodesh Yisrael Hashem Reishit Tuasai. You know, we have a mitzvah called Reishit. Which mitzvah is called Reishit? Reishis the Goncha Titen Lo. What does it mean? Give the first of your crop to the Kohanim, Truma. It's Kodesh. Somebody's not a Kohen, not allowed to eat it. Kol Zol Yechel Kodesh. So, like the Reishis is Kodesh Lashem, the Navi says Am Yisrael is the Truma of the nations. Kodesh Yisrael Hashem Reishis Tuasai. Am Yisrael is the Truma, it's lifted up, dedicated to Hashem. Reishis. Bereshis. When the first word of the Torah is Bereshis, Rashi says this is a remes, Bishvil Reishis. The world where no Chacham does something without a tachlis. What was the purpose of Brias HaOlam? Bereshis, Bishvil Reishis. Bishvil Am Yisrael Nivra HaOlam. There's something else that's called Reishis. What else is called Reishis outside of Am Yisrael?
Torah.
That's true. But more generalized is the Torah is called Reishis. There's a pasuk in Mishli, Rashi brings as well. All this you can see in the first Rashi of Chumash. Hashem Konani Reishit Darkai. There's something else that's called Reishis. Because if you learn Torah, you need something else as well in order to absorb the Torah. That's why I'm here to give the Shmooz. What's it called? It's called Yirat Shamayim. Because if you learn Torah and you don't have Yirat Shamayim, then the Torah is valueless. It will bring you to the wrong ways. What's Yirat Shamayim? Reishit Chachma. The beginning of wisdom, or the purpose of wisdom, is Yirat Shamayim. So Reishit, so we have here 3 things. Without Am Yisrael, there's no Torah. But without Yirat Shamayim, there's no Torah. Bereshit, Bishvil Reishit, Nivra HaOlam. For these 3 things which are called Reishit. Am Yisrael, Torah, and Yirat Shamayim. Whenever you're busy with one of these 3 things, let's say, what do you mean, Yisrael, Avas Yisrael, acquiring Torah, acquiring Yirat Shamayim, you have to know that you're busy with the purpose of your life. And whenever you're busy with things which are not connected with these 3 things, you have to know that you're busy with things which are not the purpose of your life, that you perhaps wasting your life. Bereshis. Why are these things called Reishis? Because I'm sure you all recognize from the Nibur L'cha Daidi. How do you over there? Sof Maaser b'machshava tchila. Whatever the end. When is the purpose revealed? When you build a building, when do you get to the purpose of the building? When it's finished. But when you have a building, what's the first in your mind? If you want to build a doctor's office, you'll build it one way. And if you want to build a kitchen, you'll build it another way. So before you do anything, the purpose is the first thing that's going to determine the whole plan of the building. So the purpose is always the first. And according to the purpose, you make a plan. So that's why these things which are the purpose of the world, they are called Reishis. Because they're the Reishis, the beginning of the Machshava, the first Machshava of Kadosh Baruch Hu. Reishis first means purpose. Sof Maser, the purpose, the completion of the purpose is at the end. Sof Maser, Ava b'machshava, in the machshava, which is the seed of the tchila. It's first. That's the first pasuk. The first pasuk tells us the purpose of creation. The second pasuk says, "Va'aretz haisatayu v'vayu v'chayshech al pnei tahayim." This is a remes, says Chazal, that Am Yisrael, who's the purpose of the world, is going to go through 4 states of galus. Tayu is Bavel, Bayu is Madai, and specifically Chanukah is connected with the galus that's called Chayshech, darkness. And we have to explain why is it called darkness. Al Pnei Tahayim, Tahayim is an abyss that you don't see the end of it. Which galus is so long that we don't see the end of it? This is the galus of Edom that we're in today. By the way, I don't think one should speak about it, but it's interesting. The announcement, everybody heard the announcement of Mr. Trump. It's almost like Esav kissing Yaakov, Esav being minded to the brachas. Where is it going to go? We don't know. It's not Trump, it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But it is interesting. It is interesting. And I'm not a Chabadska, but it is interesting that it was on Yud Tes Kislev, I love 19 Kislev. It is interesting. I'm co-partner. Anyway, it is interesting. This is not an advertisement for Chabad, but it is interesting. Now, Chayshech, what does it mean? These are telling us about, because these nations come to divert. Golus means that Am Yisrael, the nation of Israel, is diverted from its purpose. Because Am Yisrael is here, the identity of Am Yisrael is to announce to the world that there's a creator. That this world is not a natural phenomenon. And here we get Bemet to the conflict with the Greeks. The ancient Greeks believed that everything is determined in this world. Everything is laws of physics. Even the presence of the world is like a natural law. It's like the shade. Even if there's spiritual things, it's the shade of those spiritual things which becomes materialized. But it's all natural laws. It's just, that's the principle which is basically the most opposite of our belief, is the principle that the Rambam calls, and this is the principle of kfirah, of denying, kadmut. You know what kadmut in Hebrew means? When did the world begin? It just was. That's what it is. It always was. This was the belief, the philosophy of the Greeks. It was. There are powers. They had mythology, gods, and everything. Yes, there are superpowers, and they were made that way. They weren't made. There's different levels of existence, and that's it. There's levels of it exists because it exists. Contrary. It's not confusion. It's a belief. Contrary to this belief, the Torah expresses the whole identity of Am Yisrael. I get back to this word Bereshis. It's a very key word. Bereshis says that the world. This is the whole kedusha of Klal Yisrael. The world had a beginning. Bereshis. There was nothing, and then bara. The definition of bara. What is the definition of bara? Bara means existence. It's something that we can't even picture. First of all, nothingness. We're in a world of somethingness. We can't imagine nothing. It's a nothing that we cannot imagine. But it's nothing. Even a vacuum is nothing. Space is a creation. Achacham tell us. Time is a creation. We live in a world of space, of time, dimensions. We can't imagine a world without space and dimensions. But all this is, on all the laws of physics, are how Hashem made the world. He could have made it different. He made it this way. There's a world with a beginning and out of nothing means there was nothing, then there was something. And this was, and if that's true, then there's a creator. There's a force behind with a purpose. If there's creation, then there's purpose. If there's a beginning, then there's a force that made that beginning. And if there's a force that made that beginning, then that force has a purpose in mind. If there's a beginning, that's Bereshis. And the first word of the Torah is summed up the whole kedusha of Klal Yisrael. Bereshis tells us that there's a beginning, there's a creation, and then if there's a creation, it's by a force that has a ratzon, that has a decision, has a will. And if he has a will, then he doesn't, a force that has a will, we see all the chachma in this world, all the wisdom. So this force has wisdom. A force of wisdom doesn't do something without a purpose. And if there's a purpose to the world, how are we, that we have the comprehension to understand the purpose, how can we comprehend this purpose? How can we get to this purpose? This tells us that there must have been communication with this force. This is the second principle of our Amunah. The first principle is Mitzias Hashem. There's a Kodesh Baruch Hu Ritzoni, a Koach Ritzoni that created this world. He willed this world to be. The second principle is if He willed this world to be, the world has a purpose. How do we know the purpose? Torah min hashamayim. Hashem communicated. It's what we call nevuah. Nevuah is not the translation in English of nevuah. The Nevi'im prophets is not a very correct translation, in my opinion. Because the main point of nevuah is not to say the future. That was a sign that the Navi is a Navi Emes, if he predicted the future and everything came true. But that's not the point. Nevuah, the Navi, had communication. He had supernatural communication with the Creator. The extreme of this is Moshe Rabbeinu, that the Torah writes, Ish asher yadoi Hashem ponim el ponim, that Hashem spoke to him face to face. But every Navi was communication from supernatural communication from the Creator, the force that created everything, and revealing him secrets and messages of creation. Nevuah means communication. Communication between the Creator and who He created. And that's what we call Torah min hashamayim. In Torah min hashamayim, Hashem communicated to Am Yisrael what was the purpose of His creation. And of course, we know that the mitzvahs will give us that Hashem created something, but the Chachamim tell us what is the purpose. If we're already speaking what the purpose is. Chachamim, David HaMelech hinted the purpose of the world in 3 words in Tehillim. What are the 3 words? Olam Chesed Yiboneh. What does that mean? The midah, the trait of Chesed, of Hashem. Hashem created the world with His trait of Chesed. Olam, the world, Chesed Yiboneh, was built out of the trait of Chesed. What's the Chesed? Because Hashem doesn't have any needs. The definition of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Shleimut. Shleimut means He's not, even when we use the word Ratzon, will, we get mixed up when we use it on the Creator. Because when a person wills something, that will is to fulfill a need. The Rebbeinu, to say that the Creator has needs is contradictory to our definition of the Creator. The Creator is something perfect and complete. A need means there's something missing. The Creator doesn't have needs. At the same time, the closest thing that we can understand that He chooses, we have no other word. We don't, from lack of language, we have to use the same word that we use a human being. He willed the world to be. But He didn't will the world to be out of a need that the world should exist. But He wanted to be native, to do chesed. Since He doesn't miss anything, this tells us that must be the relationship of the Rebbeinu Shem to the world. Since He's perfect and doesn't have needs, so what is the world about? Chesed. And the shleimus, the perfection of this chesed, is that Hashem wanted to give something of His own perfection, because that's the greatest chesed. And that's through the Torah and mitzvahs. I'm making it very short. There's a whole sefer Derech Hashem in length about this, or Derech Tfuna. The Ramchal wrote a lot about this, in very much in length. But the hatova of this is lisaneg, what he calls lisaneg al Hashem, and the place of this lisaneg Hashem is Olam Haba. But the way to get to Olam Haba is we have to, for this perfection to be perfect, we have to go through the test of this world of Olam Hazeh, of Torah and mitzvahs. But the Torah was given specifically to Am Yisrael. But an Am Yisrael is because how do you get to a connection with Hashem? By recognizing Him in this life. You can't connect with Hashem in Olam Haba, in the world to come, if you didn't connect with Him here. There's nothing newborn. This is a chachar as well. It's very important to know. Hayoim, the Torah says, Hayoim la'asoisom. The place of doing mitzvahs and tests are here. Not there. After 120, the person cannot change anything. Here, in 1 second, a person can make a transformation, enormous transformation in his life. Enormous. In 1 second, by choice. In 1 second, he can put himself in front of Hashem. In 1 second, that's the greatness of life here. The Chazal say, Yesh koina oilamoi b'shor achas. A person can acquire his whole netzach, change his whole life. And even, there's a story, they say, I think it was Rabbi Lapian, I don't remember, there's a story, once upon a time there was such a thing as a dibuk. And the dibuk, they were tzaddikim that could talk to the dibuk. There was a time the Chafetz Chaim didn't, but Rabbi Chana Vassima did talk to the dibuk. And there was a dibuk, I think it's Rabbi Lapian spoke to the dibuk, and it was a boy of yeshiva that went off the way, and he lived the life of a guy, and he told the story of his life, and he said that he fell, this is in the introduction, this Lev Eliyahu, Rav Shalom Shvadron put out the drushes of Rav Eliyahu Lapian. And in Lev Eliyahu, in the introduction, he brings this in detail. I don't remember exactly, but part of the story is, the boy said that he fell out of a wagon, and he hit his head on a stone, and that's how he died. So he asked him, why didn't you do tshuva when you were falling out of the wagon? Meaning that if he would have done tshuva, what do I want from this story? If he would have done tshuva even in the middle of the fall from the wagon, this would have changed his whole being in the world to come. In 1 second, the person can do tshuva even when he's confronted with the last seconds of life. This Chazalik say this. He answered that he was too mixed up from the fall to do tshuva. As don't leave it for the last seconds. Don't think that maybe somebody will learn from this Shmooz. No, I have time yet. Nobody knows when the last second is. A person doesn't know. But Chazal expressed this. And Yesh Averis Hashem won't help the person do tshuva. He'll prevent him from doing. He won't prevent. He can do tshuva, but he doesn't help him. Toshev enoish adako, which is, by the way, very interesting. Toshev enoish adako is we say it on Shabbos, and Chazal say ad dikutuko shel nefesh. Hashem says to the person do tshuva till the last breath. Ad dako. Here's a sitting here. Maybe I can show it to you inside, because I remind myself that the Meforshim connect this pasuk with Hanukkah. So something interesting. Toshev enish adako. Ad diktucha shenefesh means till the last bit of life, a person can do tshuva. That's the power of tshuva. But afterwards, that's it. There's 2 stages of time. Hayoim in this world is the world of Asiyah. The next world, umocha. The Kabul Scholim. If you have a problem, tzaddik v'raloi, Rasha v'tevloi, it's a whole, why is the tzaddik, you see suffering in this world, and the Rasha you see being successful, one has to know one thing, that this is of course without an end to discuss this, but one has to know that the tzaddik has his ra. One of the mahalchim is that tzaddik, the ra, is Hashem is giving him a perfection that when he gets to Olam Haba, he should be complete. And the Rasha is getting the schar of his mitzvahs. And that's one of the tests of this world. Because this is not the final analysis. This is just a temporary state. Everything in this world, one of the names of this world is Olam Hanisoyon, the world of tests. Here, everything in life is a test. This is just a temporary state. This is not the Olam HaNetzach. This is not the eternal world. And this world, the usual principle is schar mitzvah b'hai alma leka. There are not schar mitzvahs in this world. You don't get the reward of mitzvahs. Toshev enosh, it's a pasuk tefillah l'Moshe. It's the tefillah of Moshe. Toshev enosh adaka. And when the person, Rebbeinu Shalom, takes a person till the last breath, and what does he say to him in that state? Batoime shuvu b'nei Adam. And Hashem says to him, in that state of the last breath, do tshuva, and I accept you. And so we say at the time of Nila on Yom Kippur, Ad yoim moisoi techakeloi, till the day of death, Hashem waits for a person to return to Him. If him yoshuv, and if he does tshuva miyad, he's makabel him. Immediately he accepts him. And I'm reminded myself now of a Gemara in Shabbos. That what I want with Daka is spelled Daled Chof Aleph. Daled Chof Aleph makes together which number? Daled Chof Aleph? 25. Chofei Kislev. Tashev Enesh Adaka. Chanukah, if a person didn't do tshuva, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Hashem is still waiting for him till Chanukah. Till Chanukah, it says in the Svarim, there's an opportunity for a person to be metaken. There's a remez that Chanukah and Sukkot are connected together. Because what do we have in parallel between the two of Chanukah and Sukkot? Do you know what we have parallel? What do we have special? They're both the only holidays which are 8 days. That's number one. Secondly, what do we say on Sukkot for 8 days, which we don't say in the whole year? Only at special times? Halal Takadosh Baruch Hu, Halal Shalom, the total Halal, which is Halal. And we have as well on Sukkot 8 days Halal. 8 days Halal. Because it's a connection of Sukkot. And here too, Sukkot is hinted in the Torah. I didn't get to the other subject.
The end of the Gemara Sukkot has a story of Miriam Basbilga, who comes into the temple with the Greek
Lucas. And as they, we'll get to Choshe, get back to Choshe. 1 second. But if we're ready with this, 1 second. Here we too many things. There is too many things.
This is a small pot, will go on.
Tashev Enish Adaka. Chafei Kislev. Yes, the connection, just to show you in the Pasuk, it is a Chumash here, and Pashas Emor. No, I need Vayikro. In Pashas Emor, I want to show you the two places. I began with one place, I didn't get back to it. 2 places in the Torah where Chanukah is hinted to. This is fascinating. In my opinion, it's fascinating. In Pashas Emor, you have like this. You have a list of all the holidays at the end of Pashas Emor. All the holidays. And then suddenly, you have Pesach, Shavuot, Sukkot, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, in between. You have everything. At the end, after it finishes all the holidays, how does it begin, this Pasha? This Pasha is the famous, 1 second, how does it begin? Let's get to the beginning. Dabel b'nei Yisrael v'amart aleim moyadei Hashem asher tikroisam mikrei kodesh Elohim ma'adoi. Tell Am Yisrael my moyadim. That's how it begins. Revi in Pashas Emor. Afterwards, it goes through all the holidays. Shana, Yom Kippur, Sukkot. All right, it finishes with Sukkot. Vayidaber Moshe, famous pasuk. Vayidaber Moshe Smayadei Hashem b'nei Yisrael. What's the next pasuk? Tzavos b'nei Yisrael. Vayidaber Hashem Moshe Leimo. Right. Tzavos b'nei Yisrael. V'yikchu eilecha Shem and Zayezoch kosas lamol alos netom. Tell Am Yisrael to bring you pure olive oil to light the menorah. What's the connection with the Mayadis? In the middle of nowhere. So the Balaturim stands on this. Says the Balaturim. Rashi brings it as well. Rashi brings it. Remez, I read you here, they have in these new Chumashim editions from Rashi. From the Rashi wrote a book, they say it's, at least it's miyuchas to Rashi.
This is another Gemara. This is often from Rashi and Gemara.
No, but this is not from Rashi and Gemara. The Machzor Vitri. Miyach is the Talmud of Rashi. So it says like this: Remez lechanaka min ha'Torah, shekosov achra kol ha'moedes, after all the moedes, v'yikro elecha shemen zayazach. And so it's written when the Yavonim they entered, they did the Hechel, the Yavonim they were metami or the Shmonim till they found the Pach, which was a nest. They found the Pach and it lit 8 days, and that's why they made it a Yontif. And since it's written with the Moedos, the mitzvah of lighting the Ner Chanukah, which because on this mitzvah of lighting the Ner Chanukah there was a miracle, so that's a simon that Chanukah is a holiday like all the Moedas. It's a Moed, number one. But number two, the Balaturim adds. The Balaturim here adds something much more than that. And he says, Somach Shemen Zayis l'Sukkah. The Torah put this mitzvah of Shemen Zayis, of olive oil, with Sukkah. What's the connection? Loima, to tell us, Shegoimrim hahalul kol shmoini mei Chanukah kederech shegoimrim moisa kol shmoini semei Chag. It's a holiday of 8 days like Sukkot, and we complete the Hallel like 8 days of Sukkot. And maybe we'll say here another point. Why do we sit in a sukkah? Why do we sit in a sukkah? The sukkah is a remez to something we had in the midbar. And we had this in the midbar in whose schus? I'm asking two questions. We sit in the sukkah is Zeicher, Ma'anane HaKavod, the clouds of glory which encompassed Am Yisrael. In whose merit did Am Yisrael have the clouds of glory? Aaron HaKohen. Who are the ones from Klal Yisrael that they fought the Greeks and gave us this wonderful holiday of Hanukkah? Chashbonim Kohanim, the Schus Aaron. And where did Hashem make a symbol of their Mesiras Nefesh in the Menorah? You know, in the Menorah, there was a constant miracle, at least in the Bayis Rishon, there was a constant miracle like Hanukkah. The Ner Maravi, there was one there which was called the Ner Maravi. And the Ner Maravi, it says he would light it first, but he find it lit. When the Am Yisrael had the Madrega, it remained lit. Even though it had the same amount of oil, it remained lit. And the Torah uses, when the Torah writes about the mitzvah, in Paloischa, lighting the Menorah, Michutz leparoiches ha'edus. The Torah continues and says, where do you light the Menorah? Michutz leparoiches ha'edus b'yom moed yarach oisai. It's telling you that the Menorah was in the Heichel. But the Torah uses the lashon, it was on the other side of the pareichus of the curtain, which divided between the Oil Moed and the Eidus. The word Eidus means testimony. What's it referring to? The Luchas Habrit, the Oren HaKodesh. The pareichus that divides between the Eidus, that's called the pareichus HaEidus. Abba Chachamim says, Rashi brings it here, Nemo. Rabbi Seinu Dorshu, why does the Torah use the word Eidus when it's referring to the mitzvah of lighting the menorah? So it says, Al Ner Maravi, Shu Eidus l'chol boi oilam. The Ner Maravi was an Eidus, was a testimony to all the people of the world. Shashchina Shoyre Yisrael, that the divine presence, the Ruchnius, the spiritual divine presence of Hashem is resting in Am Yisrael. The miracle of the Ner Maravi was to testify the presence of Hashem in Am Yisrael. Eidus, that Am Yisrael has the Shechina. What did the Yevonim tell us? I'm sure that you heard it. We'll review it. We have to go over it. What was one of the first decrees of the Yevonim? Kisvu lechem al keren hashoyer she'ein lechem chelek belakei Yisrael. They said, right on the horn of a bull, you don't have a portion in the God of Israel. This was the decree, and this was all the decrees. You're not chosen. You don't have a connection with Hashem. You didn't receive a Torah, a heavenly Torah. And what was the menorah? A constant nest, that the opposite. Yesh lechem chelek b'kei Yisrael. Hashchina shruya b'Yisrael. This was the menorah. What was the concept of the Anani HaKavod? What did the Anan HaKavod achieve? What was the concept of the Anan HaKavod? You know what the concept of the Anan HaKavod was? They were surrounded by the clouds. They were separate. They were united. Anan HaKavod was a concept, when you have a chasana, so afterwards the chasana kala, where do they go? Yichud. They go to the Cheda Yichud, the chuppah, right? The chuppah is like a Cheda Yichud. They go to Cheda Yichud. The Anan HaKavod was the Cheda HaYichud of Am Yisrael HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's what the Anan HaKavod was. They were Cheda Yichud. They were separated them from all the nations of the world. They have a Yichud with the Bari Olam. Without the Messiah. They're Nesuim in Ha'aretz and surrounded with Hashem in the Rishus HaYochid of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the concept of an Anan HaKavod. The concept of the Menorah was to testify to this special relationship. And what did the Yevonim want? What was the main point, the hisnagdus of the Yevonim? The opposition of the Yevonim was, you could say, if you want the present day, the concept of ecumenism. To all religions unite, we're all the same, there's one humanity, and we're all brotherhood, we're all one. This is what they wanted. They wanted to destroy the Kedusha of Am Yisrael, and we're not all one. Because the Umas HaOlam, they lost their Tzelem Elokim when they were Chaytei, they didn't receive the Torah. Am Yisrael has a neshama, the Chelek Belokei Yisrael. This was the jealousy of the Yevonim, that Am Yisrael has a neshama and a relationship with Hashem. They said, no, it's a scientific world, it's all laws of nature, there's no difference between the two. If you want, for Americans, all men are equal. All men are not equal. Am Yisrael received the neshama. This is also a hint in the mitzvah of Menorah, because we have the pasuk, Ki ner Hashem nishmas adam. The neshama of a yid is compared to the ner. There's a light of a Kodesh Baruch Hu. That's yesh lanu. When we light the Menorah, we say, at the opposite of the decree of the Greeks, yesh lanu chelek v'elokei Yisrael. We have a portion in Elokei Yisrael. So this is the connection between Sukkot and Chanukah. That Chanukah is a continuation of Sukkot. But like Sukkot, and I want to tell you something else which is interesting. I think it's interesting. You know, there's I didn't see it in the Sefer this, but you know that there's, in the letters, there's a connection, Atbash. You know, the letters interchange. Chanukah is Chaf Hei Kislev. What is Chaf Hei in Atbash? So I'll tell you what it is. You can figure it out afterwards. You know, you go one front, one backwards. Aleph Tov, Beis Shin, Gimel, Gar, Da, Hatz. So in this way, Chaf is a Lamed. You can write it on paper, you can figure it out. And Hey is a Tzaddik. Those two words, those two letters make Tzeil. Tzeil HaShechina. In Sukkot we go into Tzeil HaShechina, and when we write Chanukah Menorah, we are connecting with the Avodas HaMikdash on Chanukah, in a certain sense, there's a nechama, there's a cancellation of the destruction of the temple, because we have a mitzvah which is connected to Deiros. And here I just want to get what I began with. The second remez in the Torah, at the end of Parshas Nasa, you have the first Chanukah of the Mishkan, and then you have again, after the Chanukah of the Mishkan, Parshas Ba'alo Yischa begins with Vayidab Hashem HaMoshe Ba'alo Yischa Saneiris, the mitzvah of lighting the menorah. So the Ramban brings a medrash that Aaron HaKoyin had a Chaloshes Hadas. Aaron HaKoyin, he said, his Shevet didn't have a part in the Chanukah HaMishkan, only because you don't see Levi there. All the Shvatim are there. There's 12 Shvatim because it's Ephraim and Menashe, and Levi's out of the picture. So his Shevet didn't take part in the Chanukah HaMishkan. So the Rebbeinu Shalom said to Aaron HaKoyin, you'll have a Chanukah Shelcha La'olam. Yours is La'olam. You light the menorah, and yours is La'olam. So the Ramban says, what do you mean yours is La'olam? When the Beis HaMikdash destroyed, there's no menorah. What's La'olam? Hashem was menachem him. The Medrash says the Hashem consoled Aaron HaKoyin that he will have a Chanukah which is forever. It says this is a remez to the Nisim that Hashem made at the time through the Shevet Aaron, the Bnei Hashmonoim. The Torah here is Meramez, that there will be a miracle in the menorah, and that this mitzvah will remain for generations. That means that when Am Yisrael lights, each individual lights the menorah, it's a certain sense the gathering of all the candles together. This is as if the menorah, the Sfas Emes goes to the extreme that it says the menorah, the Miklei HaMishkan Agonos, they're hidden someplace. And he says the menorah in its place, since it's not dependent, this is lighting the menorah from nest. It's not from physical shemen. It says when Am Yisrael lights the Chanukah candles, the menorah in its place lights up as well. The menorah lights up. We have a mitzvah. We don't have anything similar to this from all the Avodas Beis HaMikdash. All the Avodas Beis HaMikdash, all the mitzvahs of Beis HaMikdash, we don't have today. But the lighting of the menorah remained a zeicha. That's what we say, Haneirus Halalu Kodesh. These neiros are kodesh. Kodesh means like the Shem and Zayis in the menorah was kodesh. It says neiros are kodesh because it's me'ain the me'ain. It's something, an echad mishishin of the lighting of the menorah. And that we have the kedusha, the edus, and like the menorah was edus, shashchina shruya be Yisrael, that the shechina is an Am Yisrael. So in Chanukah there's a light of the shechina. And here I just want to get back to the remez of choshech. What does choshech mean? In darkness, the other Goliath, there's something unique about the opposition of the Greeks and the other Umas HaOlam, the other nations. The other nations destroyed the Beis HaMikdash. The Yevonim, they didn't destroy the Beis HaMikdash. They let the Beis HaMikdash be there. They weren't disturbed by the Beis HaMikdash. They were like other people today. There can be a Medinas Yisrael. The Jews can be in Israel. But just, what did they take away? The light of the Beis HaMikdash. When you close the light, it's as if it's not there. They wanted to close the light. They took away the Beis HaMikdash by taking out the Kedusha of the Beis HaMikdash. The opposition was to remove the Kedusha, and then there's no Beis HaMikdash. If the physical, material Beis HaMikdash is there without the Kedusha, it's not Beis HaMikdash. If you have Eretz Yisrael without its Kedusha, so it's not Eretz Yisrael. So the opposition is the term, the Torah is Chayshech, darkness. Darkness means you can't relate to it. It's there, but you can't get out of it. But on Hanukkah, so paradoxically, Hanukkah, which is the Nitzachon, the victory over the Yevonim. So even when we're in Golus, we have the oil of the Beis HaMikdash. This is the opposite effect. They want that the Beis HaMikdash should physically be there and don't have the Kedusha Beis HaMikdash. The Nitzachon is the opposite. We're in a state where the Beis HaMikdash is not there, but we have the oil of the Beis HaMikdash. That's not. It's the oil of the Beis HaMikdash without the Beis HaMikdash. It's Mishapech, because that's the Nitzachon. That's Anakama and the Yevonim. Hashem gave us because they tried to extinguish, and the Bnei Chashmonim had Mesiras Nefesh, so we got the oil of the Beis HaMikdash, even though the Beis HaMikdash is not present. That's the oil. The Shechina, it's a Bechina, it's an aspect of the Shechina Shvuya B'Yisrael.